Welcome along to our very first Power Platform community webinar. It is September 2021, marked the date as the beginning of a new phenomenon here. So again, we take this time to thank you very much for joining us and watching us as we try and build through this and provide some information particularly targeted to the SMB around the value and the opportunity that is provided by the Power Platform. So we have started the webcast. We've checked the recording is turned on, and we did check the sound. So hopefully that is all coming through. If you do have any questions after the event or any technicalities, please contact me, Director at CIA Ops, or on the Twitter at Director CIA. Now, there'll be a lot of really great information that we will present here today. So again, we really encourage people to take notes and focus on the content. We are recording and we will make this available after the event if you do want that, along with the slides. So again, please take the time to focus on the content we do provide here. So our agenda, to keep it simple, we have an introduction to our presenters. So we have 3 additional presenters here. So thank God you don't have to listen to me for all the time. So there'll be 3 other people that will grab the microphone and take you through a lot of the content we have. So the idea is we'll learn about each of the presenters firstly, then we'll look at some updates to the Power Platform. So we want to get this into a regular format where every month we do this webinar, you'll get the latest information about what's coming out the Power Platform. There's just so much happening in that space that we really need to do that news. Then we're going to do a bit of a tutorial deep dive and hands-on, and then we'll open up to some Q&A at the end. If you do have any questions during the event, please, by all means, type them into the chat. I'll be monitoring that and pass that on to the presenters so that they can take advantage of that and answer anything that is. And again, let's keep our fingers crossed that we cover everything that we need to in the time that we've allocated. So with that, I am going to hand off to our first presenter to let him introduce himself to you. Andrew.
Thanks, Robert. My name's Andrew Gallagher, and in the past I've sort of been like most people, managed service provider assisting clients, but I do see that diminishing over a period of time where the larger companies are taking over. So I formed Power Assist, which is basically my avenue into the Power Platform. I really enjoy working within the Power Platform and developing and assisting clients with the new technologies to get them to be the most get the most productivity and profitable in their business. I've started my website, powerassist.com.au, where I'm now blogging all about the Power Platform, and looking forward to the challenges of that. Anyway, now I'm going to hand over to Bill.
Thanks, Andrew. My name's Bill Mallett of Mallett Solutions. I started my paid IT career nearly 40 years ago at a rather large international corporation based in Melbourne. But over 40 years ago, I taught myself to program. Yet 70 years ago, I found myself doing general IT support in my own business for small businesses. And recently I discovered the Power Platform, and due to circumstances, I've switched and put those 2 things together. So now I'm very focused on delivering Power Platform solutions for small businesses. And like Andrew, but about a week behind, I'm going to be launching a blog and probably YouTube how-to channel very soon. So handing over to Yeoman.
Thanks, Bill. My name's Yeoman from City Systems, and we provide solutions for customers in the small, meta, medium business. We've been in business for 25 plus years, so we know a lot about small business, and also we harness our gradual improvements in making sure that we know more about our technology and how to apply it to our customers. And with that attitude, we see that there's more and more opportunities in things like automated and other Power Platform solutions, so that we can stay ahead of the game and make sure our customers stay ahead of the game and get more productive and more profitable. I'll hand back to Robert.
And Robert will remember to turn off turn back his microphone on. That's the problem when we're handing off here. But thank you very much, guys. Again, feel free to contact any of the guys specifically after the fact. Like I said, the slide deck will be made available to you afterwards. Again, please reach out and ask them any questions that you may have, any specifics that you do see here. I'm sure they're keen to engage with people. They have a real passion for the Power Platform and do want to share that with everybody. Now, part of this sharing context is going to be giving you dedicated news and updates on the Power Platform. I think it's probably worthwhile just fleshing out that the Power Platform is largely composed of 4 major tiers. So that's going to be Power Apps for creating mobile apps, web apps, and so on. It's going to be Power Automate, which is for automation, which is probably the main thing most people start with. Then we're going to look at there also includes Power BI for doing dashboards on analytics, taking that and displaying it visually. And the final one, which is the newest one, is around the virtual agents. So they're bots and chat bots and those sort of things. We're really keen to get into those. But why don't we kick off with the news? And again, I will hand back over to Andrew to share the news that he's found that he believes is the most relevant for you.
Thanks, Robert. Well, the news that I'm going to talk about is a session from Microsoft Inspire that was held online by Microsoft in July. What took notice specifically was what Ricardo Duncan, who was a low-code app developer at Microsoft, was talking about, and the discussion first went along on how Microsoft partners could get involved and leverage the low-code offering that Microsoft give. 3 points that he made was that Microsoft Learn is a great tool and resource that anybody can use to get a baseline of what the Power Platform looks like. From there, there was an offering that Microsoft give to take on the online courses that they offer, and then thirdly, to get certified as an embedded specialization partner. So overall, you can just sort of learn towards the PL900 fundamentals exam using the learning paths, and Microsoft also offer Power Platform training days, which is a great opportunity to listen to a Microsoft presenter about the Power Platform and then do a certification on that. He then expressed scenarios and use cases of how the Power Platform has assisted specifically Microsoft customers along their journey. And they're building user interfaces on top of current SQL server databases and putting them into virtual machines. This assisted them in modernizing line of business applications, removing of manual or paper-based processes, and taking order applications that you may have modernized into the cloud. And doing that, customers integrating Azure services with Power Platform to form a system, an easy system that anyone in the company can use and access at any time on any device and basically anywhere. Now, look, I know in this session that they talked about EY creating government applications in weeks rather than months to get the applications out of the door. And I also know that the Australian government is using the Power Platform very high to create, for example, the booking system for our current vaccinations for the COVID pandemic. So look, this sounds like a lot of large corporate data, but it really isn't, because there's plenty of small businesses that, you know, have access databases or Excel spreadsheets or even emails where they're, you know, manually receiving orders via emails and then keying that into their business software. Well, all of this can be simply created and automated, basically, where, you know, a Power App could be created for end users to enter the data in and straight into their business system, saving them time and money. And then they talked about the differences between the data migration and data modernization. Now, you know, moving to the cloud isn't always as easy as what it seems, but then it can be. So, you know, you can migrate an app without modernization, just basically lifting and shifting it into a virtual machine. But the difference between that and modernizing the data, where the app undergoes change during the process of moving it into the Power Platform Azure, with the goal of improving features and functionality of the app so it performs better once it's in the cloud. The two aren't mutually exclusive, but they are very much, in my eyes, intertwined. But variables such as time, cost, resources are all part of play on business goals. But at the end of the day, if you can automate the process over a long period of time, the return on investment will be definitely worthwhile for the businesses. So if you get a chance to listen to the Inspire session, I greatly recommend it. I got a lot out of it, and I hope my brief description of it assists. So now Bill's going to tell you his news.
Thanks, Andrew. First thing I want to make sure that everyone's aware of is the fact that there are pricing and licensing changes happening to Power Apps, and these are very important changes happening on the 1st of October. You can use Power Apps for free to a limited degree, but if you want to really make the most power of it, you do need Power Apps licenses. But on the 1st of October, these licenses are going to effectively be half the price that they are now. So making the barriers to entering even less. So important to understand, and you don't have to wait, because you can get deals now even to tide you over until the 1st of October. So my next item then relates to the fact that sometimes when you're doing your Power Apps and your automations, there are FX formulas that are a little bit like coding, or if you're used to doing fancy stuff in Excel, you might be familiar with them, but they can be hard to learn or hard to remember if you're not using them all the time. And what Microsoft has now done is created this idea where you can get to your FX formulas by typing in natural language. And so this is now in public preview, so you can test out this idea. You type in, I would like to search on blah, 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 and then it gives you the FX for how to do that search. So a very, very handy feature that we've been developed by Microsoft. So the next little thing that I've got then is another new feature that's been put into public preview, and that's the fact that you can now do notifications inside your app as part of your app, and it can be model-driven app or the Canvas app. And this is that idea that you know, you have the little bell with the number on it telling you how many notifications you got waiting. You can design that into your app using this new functionality now, and so have notifications as part of your app. And finally, I thought I'd mention a few little tips related to what I'm currently working on, and that is the conversion of an MS Access database into a Power App. And what I'm finding, and this could be interest to you whether you're an IT person that find yourself in this position or even a business person using an Access database. But one of the key things to make this easy is really the focus on the data and the data structure that's in your Access database. If you can understand the data and the data access, the data and the way it's being used inside the Access database, how the business wants to use it, then it becomes very easy to modernize and quite quick to modernize with a model-driven Power App, because you can focus on just getting that data in the right structures with the right relationships into the Dataverse, which is a database, standard database that sits there as part of the Power Platform effectively. Now, having done that, if you can update your data into the Dataverse and do your model-driven app, you've immediately done what Andrew was talking about before, and that is to modernize your app. All of a sudden now you have an app that is secure. Like, I'm not sure if you've worked on MS Access databases, but they're very limited in their security. Become secure because you can make access via your Azure Active Directory. It becomes available everywhere. You can access it on a mobile, on a tablet, on a Mac, which you couldn't do before with your Access database without running Windows on your Mac. So you've immediately, even though the functionality is just repeated, made a modern app that can be used everywhere. So I highly recommend this idea of looking at MS Access databases and even Excel spreadsheets, as Andrew mentioned, and looking at the power of updating them to a Power App. And so now I'll pass on to Yeoman for his news update.
Thanks, Bill. My news is to do with some exciting developments that Microsoft has with the Power Platform features for reinforcing end-to-end security, management, monitoring, and compliance. Microsoft has always believed that and is definitely now putting some focus on making sure that the Power Platform is getting easier to manage, and while maintaining a high level of security for users who may not have been too technical before, because a lot of Power Platform doesn't require high level technical knowledge, and just to make it easier for their customers to be able to become admins themselves to control these aforementioned topics of security, management, monitoring, and compliance. So to that end, they've invested a lot more heavier. So they have updated their modern user security configuration experience in the Power Platform Admin Center last month. And so what we have is a few more features. So documented such as now that the Dataverse is a end-to-end real-time encryption so that your data is not interceptable, and a big focus also on a data loss prevention policy structure so that you can do things like if you need to involve Twitter as part of your Power Platform app or solution, in that you can actually block things from being posted to Twitter while at the same time being able to extract data from Twitter. So it doesn't get exploited. Your app doesn't get exploited to do mysterious tweets or something like that. So there's also things like endpoint filtering so that you can block and allow various policies to work with your tenant or with your environment. And to make it all easier, as I said, they've got this management platform so that it makes it easier using new tools such as the Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit. In the area of monitoring, there's a lot more integration now with Power BI. So you can actually have lovely looking dashboards that can be configured using things like that Power Platform Center of Excellence Starter Kit and its templates, so that you can set up additional audit logs and reports and extra telemetry so that you can keep an eye on your dashboards and get alerts, so that it makes it much more easier to oversee what's going on with your Power Platform solutions and data. And in the area of compliance, they're just making sure that there's more centralized governance and there's additional compliance tools to make sure that it meets regulations for governments and industries all around the world. So going back to the management, there is a Power Platform Admin Center feature update. The reason they did that update is because before it used to be much more difficult to actually control some of these features, and some of these features were completely missing. So Microsoft has listened to its customers asking for more management of and easier management of their security. So they have created this modern user security configuration experience, which is now available in the Power Platform Admin Center, as you can see in the screenshot. So you can now control things to the level of application users, the security roles, whether someone can read, whether someone can control the entire solution or the entire environment. And you can actually assign and manage things across teams of people as well, so that it makes a much easier and smoother experience, including a centralized admin to make sure that there is no confusion and that everything is straightforward and that everything within your Power Platform is secure. On that, I'll hand that back to Robert.
Thanks very much, guys. So super appreciate the time the guys have invested in pulling out and teasing out the best news items from the Power Platform. We hope to do this on a regular basis to keep you up to date with the ever-changing world that is the Power Platform. So again, keep your eyes out to that. And again, check in with us again in a month's time when we do the next webinar to get all the latest news and updates from what Microsoft is rolling out. We expect that to continue to ramp up as we approach the Microsoft Ignite conference, which is towards the November timeframe. That's when we'll see a lot more technical stuff, I think, also come out from that as well. So at the end of the day here, what we want to do as our next option is to basically do a bit of a deep dive into one of the technologies or one specific area of the Power Platform to help you understand the benefits, how it is, how easy it is to set up and to use. Now, what we've chosen for this month is to have a look at the capability of using the Power Automate and have that triggered by a Microsoft form. This forms the initial part of a project that we put together that is available in some documentation that we provide for you. Again, there is a cost to do that, but this is the beginning of this, and we hope to perhaps run through all of these stages to give you that capability. So today we're just going to focus on the very simple aspect of connecting a Microsoft form to Power Automate to achieve that, and we want to do that in a demo situation. So to kick that off, why don't I hand over to Andrew to get him to share his screen, take control, and start the process to show us exactly what this is all about. So again, over to Andrew.
Thank you, Robert. Firstly, just triple check that everyone can see my screen.
Yep, looks good here.
Okay, great. So basically, as Robert said, what I'm going to do is go through the simple process of creating a SharePoint list and a Microsoft form, and then getting Power Automate to put the data that users enter into the form into the SharePoint list. To make things simple, you can sort of see my tabs over on the side. I've already opened up SharePoint and Microsoft Forms and Power Automate. Now, to do that, if you're not aware, you can, when you first log into your portal, you have access to all of the apps, and you can simply select which app that you want to open to get there. So to begin with, I'm going to create my list, and a list that I'm going to create is to get some employee data. One of the things that I noticed that in Microsoft 365 tenants, a lot of data isn't entered in. It's basically a user email address and a password, but information such as their title, name, age, suburb can be entered in. So to begin with, I'm going to create a new list from scratch, and I'm going to call it employee data. I'm going to give it a quick description, and I'm going to create that list. Now, by default, SharePoint automatically creates the first field for me called title, and I'm going to leave that as is. And I'm going to create a second field, just wanting the employee's name. And I'm going to leave that as a single line of text. And I'm going to add one more field, just to keep things simple. And I'm going to get the age of the employee. And I'm making it a numeric field rather than a text-based field. So now I've got three fields: the title, the name, and the age. So now I want to create, now that I've created my, my list where I'm going to store my data, I'm going to jump across to my Microsoft Forms. I'm going to create a new form. Now these forms are actually very powerful because you can share them out to the outside world to obtain data from anyone. Now I'm going to give my form a name. So once again, I want my employee data and a quick description. And I'm going to add my first field, which I'm going to make it a choice field because it's the title. So the field gets its name, and then I can give selections on what the user will be able to choose in that. As you can see, it's created as radio buttons, and I'd much prefer that. Not what I wanted. Change that. Sorry, the ellipse button escaped me there for a while, but I'm going to change that to a drop-down list rather than radio buttons. The second field is simply going to be text, and I just want them to type in their name. And the third field, once again, I'm after their age. Now I can make the form just a little bit pretty by giving it a background. And I can preview the form to see how it looks to the end user. And as you can see, I've got my drop down for the title. I can enter in a name and I can enter in an age. I'm not going to submit that just yet because the next step that I need to do is create my automation on where the data is going to end up into the list. So I jump over to Power Automate. And I want to create a new flow which I simply select at the top. I want to create an automated flow. So basically, whenever someone enters in data into the form, the flow is automated to run to look at that data and then run through the flow, and in our flow, add it to the SharePoint list. So I've got to give my flow a name and keep it with my employee data. And I need to select a trigger on what is going to trigger the flow to start. Now, as you can see, there's literally thousands of different triggers, and I can click on show more, and there's more and more and more, and that will go on. So you can search on the triggers, But my trigger that I want to use, which is when a new response is submitted into a Microsoft form, happens to be the first one. It's always nice when it's on the top for a demo. It's signing my user in, and now it wants me to pick the form out of the list of forms. Now, there's only one form. There could be multiple forms, but I select my form. And then once I've got my form, I get to add a new step. So Flow is a step-by-step process where you can add steps as you go. And if you miss a step, you can add one in later. So I'm going to add a new step. And basically what I want to do is I want to get the data from the form. So if I search through forms, it filters out for me the different things that I want to do. You can click on the subjects to see the different options. But as you use the product, you begin to know what you're after, and the search is really powerful just to find quickly what you want. So I'm going to get the response details from the form. I'm going to select my form. And from there, I'm going to get the ID, which is automatically created for me. The next thing I want to do is I want to create the item in SharePoint. So once again, I can go create, because that's what I want to do, and it'll give me all the options that I can create. And as you can see, the second one there is the SharePoint option, which I'm going to select. Prompts me to choose my SharePoint site, and then choose the list that I've created within that SharePoint site. It then drops down and shows me the 3 fields that I can add the data to. So the title field, I can select the title from the form. The name, once again, I select the name. Now, if you remember, they were both text fields. The age, which is a numeric field. If I choose that age, I will get an error, basically because it's going to be trying to enter a text field into a numeric field. So what I need to do is add another field here, which basically will change the text field into a numeric field for me. And to do that, I choose the compose option and select my age. So basically, this option here converts my text field into a numeric field, which then enables me in the SharePoint list to put the output from that compose option as the field. Now I'm going to save. Save, and it lets me know that it's all saved and ready to go. So why don't we go back to our form and we give it a test. So I'm going to preview my form, put in my name, probably if I could spell, and my age of 21. The form thanks me for my input, and I can come over and click on my form, and as you can see, my flow has automatically run after entering the data into the form and has succeeded. It shows me the duration of time that it took to take, and if I come over to my my list, you will see the data that I entered in the form are entered directly into the list. Now, as another example, we all know that users can do some funky things. So I'm going to come back to my form. And I'm going to enter in another user my wife's name, Tony Gallagher, and I'm going to put in her age, but I'm going to type her age. So the form submits, and it thanks me once again for the data. But when I have a look, I'll just refresh the page. When I have a look at the run, you'll notice that it has failed. Now, I won't go into that because Bill's going to go into that more, but I'm going to finish on, I can go back to my form. And on the age, I can make it a, I can put in some restrictions that basically force the person to enter in a number, so they're not typing in the number or they're not putting in some invalid data. And I can even say, you know, let's make it greater than, well, you know, all employees, they're going to be adults. So let's make that number greater than 18. So in the form now, when I put in, it's got some error checking. So if I want to type in 15, it says, you know, it's got, the age has to be greater than 18. If I try and type in, it won't accept it until the user actually puts in the correct details and hits that submit button. So that's the simplicity of the error checking that you can do on the form, and you can also have a quick look at the responses that users have done in the form. And once again, all of the runs in your Power Automate. And lastly, the data that is entered into the SharePoint lists. Now, lists are becoming very popular with Microsoft, so they've actually created their own section for lists that you can create and get to without going into SharePoint. So on that, I hope that quick demonstration briefly showed how to create a form and then using Power Automate to gather that data with some simple error checking and put that data into the form. So now I nearly forgot. Before I hand over to Bill, Bill won't have access to that data unless I share it with him. So you can share things for end users, and you can also share things to develop together. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to share my Power Automate with Bill. I just need to quickly check in my Teams on who Bill on. Told me just before and it escapes me. Bill, can you come off mute? Who?
Bill is Alan.
Alan.
Two L's.
Thank you, Robert.
Overwatch engaged.
Cheers. So I've just shared the Power Automate with Bill/Alan. And Bill, can you confirm that you can now see that flow?
Okay, yep, I've got it.
All right. So if you want to share your screen, Bill, to take over.
Yep. On my way. Okay, so everyone should be able to now see my screen, and we can see here the flow that Andrew shared with us, employee data. So if I click on that, I can now get into the same area as Andrew. And what I'm going to show you is just a few little tips and tricks that will help you with testing your flow. So Andrew sort of did it knowing what was going on, but how do we know what was going on? So So we got the details here, and we can see who the owners are here. Now we have 2. Now, if I go into edit, so we can see that I've got the full access. Now you notice a few little extra things that are sitting up the top right here. One's the flow checker. So that just checks to see if there's any errors and warnings in the flow. And Andrew hasn't left any of those, so that's good. Nothing to do there. The other thing is we can test our flows directly. Now, manually would mean I have to go off and enter some data into the form. But the other option I've got here is automatic. And you can see I can use a trigger that's been used before. And so when clicking in there, I can now choose to replay one of Andrew's runs, potentially because I wanted to see what happens now that I've made some changes. We haven't made any changes, but let's just click on it and run the test so that we can see that one that failed again. Okay, now look what happens when I'm doing the test. You can actually see the steps that you've gone through, and over here, tick, 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 fail. Okay, let's click on that one, see what it's telling us about what's failed. So here we now see the internals of what was going on. We see the inputs. We can see, list name, employee data, title, Mrs., that's okay. Name, Tony. Oh, age 22. Doesn't seem to be right. It doesn't match, as we see up here, the conversion. It's told us that we've got a problem. So, okay, that tells us what Andrew already knew, and that is that it was failing. So that's the way you can go into any of these data. If I click on compose, you can see that the 22 had an output of 22 in this case. We click on the get response. This one's a little bit more interesting because we can see our input was our form, and the output is the information we got off the form, including the body, which actually happens to be code, which is the way things are actually stored. But this can be handy when you're trying to get into the details of what's gone wrong, because you refer to these things, and if you can help see that you referred to the wrong thing when you look at that level of detail. So that's the form. But what happens if we're not in testing and something's failed? Well, we can get to that as well. Before, Andrew showed you that we can see the list, but we can actually click on one of these and it comes up with, it will eventually come up with, I hope, the same thing that we just went through when we were in the tests. So we should get the items and be able to look into those items and see exactly what's happened with them. And mine's being a bit slow. I'll refresh. So it doesn't look like it's going to let me do it. But effectively what we get here when we click in is that same flow list that we had before. So you can check on any of the past history. You'll notice that you can filter as well. So at the moment it's filtered on all runs. So we can see we could go back and have a look at all big list of all the runs rather than just the 28-day run history that's showing in this summary of the form. So that's some of the things we can do to test our flows and check what's gone wrong with our flows and get into the detail. So that's all I'm going to show for today because it's a simple little flow to go through. So now I'm going to hand over to Yeoman.
Yeoman, you're probably on mute.
Sorry about that. So taking the demonstrations from both Andrew and Bill, you can actually create a solution. So what we've done here is we've created a SharePoint list for our drink ordering system. And we base that around all these flows that we've created, just like Andrew and Bill have created and tested. We've taken that learning and we've actually extrapolated it to something that looks more like flows like this. So you can probably say we're putting about 100 man hours into this as a collaborative effort. So, and what we've done is we've created, using those learnings through what both Bill and Andrew and I have learned, and created all these different flows containing all these individual modules and steps. And through that, and through a lot of testing, we have a system where we can order drinks using a form to capturing the data, and then actually sending that data and notification of a new order through that form. So if we go through and put this form in, we fill it out. This, believe it or not, works on both mobile and computer. So you can actually have this in its live. You can have a form and you order whatever you wish. So a flat white or a large flat white, etc., etc., etc. Submit the order. It goes and gets captured in an ordinary SharePoint list that contains each order. And based on all these flows that we have created, at the end of it, someone, whoever owns the cafe, for example, should get an email just like that. So it will be a drinks order that says, here is a order, and the order is then placed with the owner of a cafe, for example, and then they can make an order and you can go and pick it up and pay for it, just like that. So it's quite simple. So as I said, this took about 100 man hours to create, but actually I created this system overnight using our system that we sell that contains an entire instruction manual on how to simply build that system I've just shown you. And
all right, Yeoman, do you want to zoom that document in a bit, please?
Yes. So in here is a comprehensive instruction manual that, believe it or not, I followed last night, and now I do have a little bit more experience of doing this, and it took me about 2 to 3 hours to recreate. Now, if you think about it, someone who can follow this guide could potentially within a day build a fully functional system. As a business owner or as someone who owns a cafe, if they could follow instructions like this, which are very guided, you can build your own ordering system within a day. Just think about that. We can take all of our learnings that we've learned over 100 man hours and condense that down. And you, who may not have as much technical knowledge, and we certainly didn't have as much technical knowledge about this stuff, we managed to build this out. And for the cost of one day's work, you literally could have a system. So that's the power of the whole Power Platform, is it takes all of these concepts and puts it together, and you can, as a person with not as huge technical things with databases and programming and whatnot, can build your own system for a lower cost, faster time frame, and save yourselves a lot of money. Or if you are a entrepreneur, you would then take this system and adopt it for other ordering style systems and sell that too. So you could take this system, pre-badge it, or adopt all the learnings within it, and create your own system based on this and make a hell of a lot of money. So we actually, the Power Platform community actually sells this entire system for $99. But if you come and see Bill or get in contact with Robert, Bill, Andrew, or myself, we'll help you how to actually sell it. Or if you need actually assistance in getting it working, please come and see us. And I'll hand back to Robert.
All right, thanks, Yeoman. Let me grab the screen back. I will just find the appropriate PowerPoint to put back on the screen. So, guys, thank you very much for that information. Again, the idea here is to help you build your knowledge with the platform. We look to add more tutorials in the coming months. If you do have any suggestions for what you'd like to see, or, again, something we can do in the time, or, maybe we look at, a particular problem that you may have, please, by all means, send it through to us and we'll do our best to make sure that we get that on as content. It's always much easier when people do basically give us some suggestions to roll out. So some takeaways from today's session for you is that it's much easier to capture information electronically than to continue with pen and paper, because once it's digital, you can then manipulate it, you can report it, you can then act on it. So we've all heard of the fallacy of the paperless office. The reality is that fallacy is largely driven by people not adopting the tools that are now available to them. And as you've seen, hopefully, should be no excuse now that you have forms to capture information, SharePoint to store the information, and things like Power Automate to then take that information and manipulate it, as well as assist in storing it. The other big thing with the Power Platform is that it's going to work on any platform. As Andrew showed you, you can see it running on an IT screen, computer screen. It will run on a tablet. It will run on a mobile device. It works really, really well on a mobile device. Makes it nice and easy. That's the platform most people prefer these days. We can also store data in SharePoint, but as mentioned, you can also stick it in SQL. You can stick it in the Dataverse, which is the Power Platform's own native database. So you can basically put it anywhere, and that's the flexibility. Keep it in the Microsoft 365 environment, and what's going to happen is it's going to be secure, it's going to be locked down, it's going to be protected and support all the compliance that you need. Now, the tools are available. Now, as we've mentioned here, and we've gone through much of the experience ourselves, test, and build in small increments. So, create something, save it, make sure it works, create the next bit, save it, and make sure that it works. So again, just build on, and before you know it, you'll have something really, really powerful. So again, the idea here is that if you do want to have a look at the drink ordering system, I have put a link in the chat for you to go and have a look. It's currently on discount if you use the code in that article. That will give you a PDF document there that will take you through step by step as to how to create that. And also the guys are available to give you any assistance you may need if you do get stuck implementing it in your own environment. Now, once you have that, you can happily use it in your own business, or you can then provide that to other people as a solution as well. So again, the idea, that's the learning there. And the big takeaway is going to be, if you want to learn the Power Platform, here's a step-through project that will give you that hands-on experience end to end. So there's some other resources there that have been mentioned. There's also some training days, learning paths there, certifications, which are also big on and would recommend. We will make these slides available to you after the fact, so watch out for that in your inbox. You don't need to capture any of that. And we do work together on a regular basis as part of the Patreon community. So we have a dedicated Power Platform community where we keep up to date and discuss things around the Power Platform daily. You can learn how to join that for a small fee. You'll find that at cioppspatreon.com. Look for the Power Platform option towards the bottom of the page if you want to join us on a regular basis and get access to all the resources, and obviously the guys as well, to ask questions and leverage their experiences. So again, I want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for attending. We'll open it up for any Q&A. I don't see any basically there in the list, but what I might do is, again, we'll thank you all for attending when it comes time, but Andrew, are you still there?
I am. Yep.
Do you mind grabbing the screen back and maybe showing people how to share that form publicly in the QR code? So if they do want to share that form with people outside the environment, just grab the screen
Sure.
and just show them how easy it is to go in and share that with anybody outside their organisation, as well as generate a QR code. That'd be fantastic.
No worries. Thanks, Rob. So if I go back to my form here, my employee form, where I'm currently looking, let me go back to the preview. There's a share button at the top right-hand corner here, where I can where I have a few different options. So only people in my organisation can respond, or I can make it that anyone that has access to this link can respond. I can shorten that URL down just by ticking that option and copying and pasting it, and assigned to that link is automatically a QR code. So by clicking on that button, it gives me that QR code that I can download, which it's just created a quick picture of the QR code, and I can place that on rooms as people enter, that they can scan the QR code, and up opens the form for people to enter it in. It also gives me some embedded code if I want to paste it in on a website, and I can simply email the link on a shared.
So I think the takeaway is that a lot of the stuff that you may be doing manually, again, like that, ensuring the fields are the right format and between certain numbers, a lot of that is built into the capabilities of these products like Forms and SharePoint. We can extend it even further by using things like conditional formatting in SharePoint to show different colors and arrange things and sort them. So again, we need to think about the Power Platform as a real toolbox that you can take advantage of. Yes, it does take a little bit of knowledge, so it's like Excel. Excel to me is one of the most powerful tools in the world, yet most people just use it in a very basic manner. So at the end of the day, think of this, the Power Platform, as something like Excel that you can build really, really powerful platforms and solutions on there as well. So thanks for that, Andrew. Let me grab the.
I was just also going to say is once you've created your form, you can make that as a template, as you can see here. You can save it as a template and share it amongst yourself. Share it amongst your team in your Microsoft environment, that you can all work on the the one form or the one SharePoint list or the one Power Automate together. So it's very easy to share and work on the projects as a team.
Excellent. All right. Well, I still don't see any questions. A couple of people obviously are very thankful for the presentation. It's good to see that we've hit the mark there. Again, we are open for any questions that you have. You can come off mute if you so choose. But again, I will take the opportunity to thank everybody for attending our first session. It's good to get the positive feedback from people. Hopefully, we'll be able to continue on and improve this at every stage as we go forward. So look out for another webinar next month on a topic. And again, if you do have any suggestions, please send them through to us. We'll look to start including those things as well. And there will be a registration form, and we'll let you know all about that. And please keep in mind the patron community if you want to join us on a regular basis. So again, thank you very much to all the presenters, all the guys. I think did a great job sharing that knowledge and information. And as I said, the slides and the video will be available afterwards when I get around to posting all that stuff up. So what I will do now is, again, thank everybody for attending, and I will stop the recording.